Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'd like to bring the board meeting for Plainfield Township to order. Seeing we are missing our township supervisor, Tom Coleman, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Sue Morrow as president pro tem for tonight's meeting. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Jack Hagedorn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Looking at our agenda, the first item on the agenda will be the invocation by Kathy Beatty, and then we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Would you please join me in prayer? Father God, we come before you always needing your presence and your help, and tonight is no exception. Father, we have cares and concerns of our community, and we just ask that you would give this board wisdom to make the right decisions, to make the decisions with great wisdom and discernment. We lift to you the family of Bill Brinkman, Father, and we ask that your comfort would be with them. We thank you for his service to our country and also to this community through the board, through the treasurer. We ask just that you would bless us as we move into this meeting, and Father, if your hand would just be upon those in California, that you would stop the tragedy that's going there and remind us of how important our infrastructure is to our communities. I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. To the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda item number 4 is public comments. If you're going to make a comment to the board, please come up to the podium over there and make sure that the little button on the microphone, just touch that really easily, and it'll then it'll be on for everyone. No individual can speak more than once, and you're limited to 3 minutes. There'll be a timer up on the clock, up on the board. And please be respectful of other people. And if you wish to make a comment, raise your hand, and I'll recognize people. And then you can go to the board and go to the podium and give us your name and address. Is there anyone who'd like to make public comments? Good. Please give us your name and address.
Lance Elliott Griffin. Want to press the button?
There you go.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Lance Elliott Griffin, 3362 Pine Meadow Drive, Woodland Creek condominiums. I just wanted to say that I'm praying for each and every one of you. I thank you for your service, and I pray that the Lord Jesus Christ continue to bless you and keep you and prosper you. That was a beautiful prayer that you prayed, ma'am, earlier today. And just wanted to thank you for the sincerity of that prayer and the mindfulness of thinking of others in California and the missing member today and others in the community. It's important that we realize that our rights come from God, and it must be with respect to God that we govern ourselves. So I just want to say those words, and I encourage and bless each and every one of you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make public comments? Moving on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda has a variety of things on here, including appointments of individuals, Nancy Wood to the race organization. Are there any questions about the consent agenda? A motion would be in order.
I move to approve the agenda, including the consent agenda and accounts payable.
Is there a support?
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Pfaff.
Yes.
Mr. Rebbinga. Yes. Ms. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn,
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow,
Yes,
and Mr. McKellar, yes.
thank you. The first thing on our agenda tonight is a public hearing. We're going to look to our Community Development Department, and who's going to handle this one?
I'll take it.
President.
Yeah, hi.
Good, thank you.
Sure. Bill is here for any additional info. And the applicant is also here tonight if you want to hear from the applicant. Oh, yeah.
Actually, our first public hearing is for the Corridor Improvement Authority.
So not me. Sorry about that.
Elizabeth will take item B. I can take item A. Do you,
Mm-mm.
okay. Your notes are missing item A, but, so, because there's no action on it, that's probably why it didn't get listed in there. Okay, so item 1 tonight is the Corridor Improvement Authority. We took some action on this in December, you may recall. It was establishing, or setting the public hearing for tonight's meeting. This is the next step where we hold a public hearing and don't take any further action tonight, providing 60 days for folks to provide any final comment before you would take any final action. Just to remind everyone what we're talking about here, historically, we've had a Corridor Improvement Authority along Plainfield Avenue. The timing of that, the intent was good, the timing was unfortunate. It was set up right in the throes of the Great Recession when property values tanked, which meant that a tax increment financing authority is ineffective when there is no growth in taxable value. So that one faded away, but we're gonna set up a new, better, more effective tax increment financing authority, would be our hope. Time will tell if that holds true, if the timing is better on this one. But the process involves us setting a public hearing tonight, gathering public input, and then waiting until March for final action. The intent of the Corridor Improvement Authority is to help advance our efforts to improve the Plainfield corridor, mostly through public infrastructure improvements. So this would be capturing a portion of the tax dollars already collected for that area and keeping those very focused on that corridor area. So it's not a tax increase, it's a reuse of a portion of the tax. So just to be clear on that, and sometimes that's confused for folks. So we'll hold a public hearing tonight and then consider it again in March.
Okay, and the CIA this time will go all the way from 4 Mile up to the bridge at Northland.
Correct.
Okay.
This is a bigger geography because
Yes.
it goes the entire length of Plainfield Avenue within Plainfield Township. It includes a portion of Northland Drive that has the commercial section there.
So we want to open a public hearing?
Yes, we do, sorry.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing for comments on the Corridor Improvement Authority. Second call, and twice. We'll close the public hearing. Are there comments from the board members? Pardon me?
There's one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please, yes.
Hi,
Yes.
my name is Hannah Johnson. I'm resident of 3923 Jupiter Avenue Northeast. It is my first time attending one of the council meetings, so thank you for being so welcoming. I've newly moved here from the southeastern side of Grand Rapids within the last year. I moved back in October of 2023. With being a resident of Jupiter, we're part of a stakeholder within the Plainfield corridor, and as I read through the mailer that came through, I noticed that Jupiter was not listed, and so I just wanted to address the corner adjacent from Speedway has been sitting vacant, and I'd love to see something be established there. It's quite an eyesore to turn down the street every day to this vacant lot. Sometimes there are trucks there, sometimes there are not, and in addition, I know this is not directly on Plainfield, but I would like to call attention that it is a street with a school bus, and there are no sidewalks for the children. So I just would like to put that on record as something I feel is really important. I have a 1-year-old at home, and I'd love for her to be able to leverage the sidewalks to be able to get to school, being not even a quarter mile away. I don't want to feel like I have to walk with her every time when she's of that age, so she can have some independence, just as a safety concern. But overall, absolutely love that we're looking to improve Plainfield. The city has so many great things to offer, and I'd love to be a spot of town where we have some highlights for other people, maybe not local to this area of town, to come and be able to be part of the economy. So thank you for your time. Appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Could you please give me your last name again?
Johnson, Johnsson.
Wonderful, thank you.
Much more
very-
simple than my maiden name.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make any comments? We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Are we taking comments from the board, or do we wait for?
If you wish, if the board wishes to comment, it's not necessary at this time. If you have any questions on the process, go for it.
You know me, I always like to comment. The capture of the taxes on these is the increase between now and whatever is in the future, just the increase. If there's no increase, of course, there's no capture, which is what you were alluding to. However, the caveat here is that on the brownfield development, the capture does not happen because, at least on the specific one, because we gave that to the developer. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's an interesting wrinkle this time around as opposed to 2007, the last time the township set up the CIA. The Brownfield district would grab that capture for that particular parcel first before it would go to the CIA. So there will be, depending on how much the Brownfield tax credit is used, depending on how widely that's used along a corridor, it may impact the dollar value. So that is one thing to keep in mind as we look at this.
The other question I had is, when I asked about the brownfield development, you mentioned that that is collecting the increase from all of the entities, including the county, et cetera, et cetera. Is that also true of the CIA?
No, CIA has a much smaller capture. So brownfields were written much more broadly to capture funds from virtually all taxing entities versus over the years, a lot of other taxing entities have found a way to opt out through legislation. They've convinced Lansing to get them out of a tax capture. So schools, I believe, have always been exempt from tax capture, but over the years, that list has grown. Libraries are now also exempt. So at this point, the tax capture would be limited to Plainfield Township taxes, Kent County taxes, and Grand Rapids Community College taxes.
Kind of cuts it down, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Yep.
does.
Thanks.
Any other board member comments, questions on this? Any questions on this side? We'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Don't need a motion
Oh.
on this.
Don't need much.
All right. We'll move on to the next public hearing. And this is a request to rezone. Are we on
Yeah,
it,
so
right?
that would be that one. It shows up as
Okay.
A on
I appreciate that.
the motion sheet.
Thank you. We're here opening a public hearing regarding a rezone request for 31445 Mile and the East Belt Line. If you wish to make comments on this during this public hearing, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you. You can go to the microphone, state your name and address. Anyone have any comments? One more time. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. And Elizabeth, would you like to talk to us again?
Yeah, yep, now I will. Sorry about that. So the applicant is in the audience and I'm sure they'll want to make a little presentation here, but I'll give a a brief overview of the project and the process here. So the project is a 24-unit townhome project split between 6 different buildings in a 4-unit attached style on 3.14 acres, resulting in a density of about 7.5 acres per unit. The process to go from R1 to this multifamily PUD is a 2-step rezone. And the reason for that is that the PUD chapter bases its permissible densities by the underlying zoning district. So we first have to rezone to R3, which is our multifamily chapter, and then directly to PUD planned unit development. The master plan does call for multifamily on this corner. Staff has received a lot of inquiries for commercial development on this corner. And based on access management issues and traffic issues, that's just not the best use for this property. So during the master planning process, it was determined that multifamily makes way more sense here. So that's a little bit on the process. Also, the PUD does require a 5-acre minimum for residential PUDs unless both the Planning Commission and the Township Board waive that requirement. So the Planning Commission did waive the requirement when they reviewed it in November. And we are recommending that if you like the project, you do the same. Access management on the site. The applicants are proposing just a single access point off 5 Mile and as far away from that intersection as possible, which is best case scenario for the development of this piece. And additionally, they are including a cross-access easement to provide access to the parcel to the south, should that ever be developed. And yeah, the product type, the townhome type, is a missing middle housing type that we all know is so needed in the area, something between that larger apartment style complex and a single family home. So it's a good transitional use between the apartments that exist and the single family to the north. So yeah, if you have any questions, Bill and I are here.
Thank you. Any comments from people in the audience? Did you think that someone was going to comment?
Do you want to hear on behalf of Dave Visser Builders?
We would like to. Your name and address?
Ben Pitcher. I'm at 2700 Middleborough Lane, Northeast, Grand Rapids. I'm obviously not Dave Visser, but I'm here on behalf of Dave Visser Builders. I've been working with Dave on this project for quite some time now. I think it's been probably 6 months. We had been talking to Elizabeth and Pete about what really fits here. We felt the townhome product, as she mentioned, was a very good fit. We also believe that getting away from more of a 3-story apartment style would just be a little bit less dense and a little bit less intrusive on the neighborhood. It would allow us to keep more green space, which you can see by the site plan that we were able to do. And once again, we pushed the drive as far to the west as we could, just to try to maintain traffic flow and safety for all. So, yep. Any questions?
Not yet, but maybe.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to make comments? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and move on to questions from the Township Board. The first part of this motion is to do the rezone for the PUD from R3 to PUD. Any questions? Mr. Hagedorn?
No, I don't. Sorry. No, I don't. As part of the Planning Commission, we passed this unanimously, and we felt it was a good fit for the area.
Thank you. Mr. McKellar?
No comment.
Bob?
I like it. I think it's something that's, I agree. I'm a recovering custom builder, and I love this. I like to see more of this in the area.
Thank you. Mr. Pfaff?
All set, thanks.
Kathy?
I just have one question for Elizabeth. I noticed as I went by there earlier today, there is a residence, there's a home that's been there. And I'm just curious, have they been notified of this and have they had a voice in this?
Yeah, yep, they would be part of the existing home on this site. Yeah,
Oh,
yep,
it's on, yeah, it's right on 5 Mile.
yeah, yep. So they would be part of the seller package to the developer.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
And I too am all set. A motion would be in order?
I move that the Township Board approve the ordinance to amend to rezone 3144 5 Mile Road, 4357 East Beltline Avenue, and 4341 East Beltline Avenue as described in the concept plan from R1B residential to R3 residential based on the findings of fact as outlined in the staff report and subject to the following condition of approval. The applicant shall proceed immediately with a PUD planned unit development rezone as described in the concept plan submitted for this meeting.
I'll second that if you've moved.
Support from Mr. Remiga?
Yeah, I support.
Thank you. Any more discussion? The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Remenka.
Approved.
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes?
Mrs. Morrow.
Yes.
Mr. McKellar, yes. Mr. Pfaff.
Yes.
Thank you. And moving on to the second public hearing, is that correct?
So we're done with the public hearings. Do we need a second motion on the rezone? Because it's a two-step rezone, or does that language cover both steps?
I think they just, yeah, I think they just did it, yeah, yeah.
All at once?
Yep,
So we're
yep.
fin,
Apologize, our motion sheets are, indicate a second motion, so we just want to make sure we're clear on that, so, okay.
Okay, thanks.
okay.
Yeah. So do we need conditions of approval?
Let me look at this. There should have just been findings of fact, so there shouldn't,
Do you want those included in the motion?
they probably should be, yeah.
So if we could have a motion with the language, it's in the second motion for this item under new business. It's at the bottom of the
This one,
second
I,
page.
and all on the back.
Kathy's on
I
it.
move that
Kathy's
the
ready.
Township Board approve the ordinance to amend and to rezone 3144 5 Mile, 4357 East Beltline Avenue, and 4341 East Beltline Avenue as described in concept plan from R3 residential to PUD, planned unit development based on the following 6 findings of fact. The reduced acreage for a residential PUD from 5 acres to 3.14 acres is appropriate for this plan. The proposed PUD complies with the intent and purpose and all qualifying conditions of sections 28.01 and 28.02 of this chapter, except as otherwise expressly provided. The proposed rezoning is based on market-driven development principles and a well-documented need for housing in the township and beyond. Number 4, the proposed rezoning is consistent with the Plainfield Charter Township Master Plan. Number 5, the proposed rezoning will be harmonious with the character of the adjacent property, the surrounding uses of land and the natural environment, and will not be hazardous to the surrounding community. Number 6, the proposed rezoning meets the intent and purpose of the township zoning ordinance and provides for a better design than under traditional zoning. Number 7, the proposed project can be served by public utilities and other public services. Number 8, to the best of staff's knowledge, the rezoning satisfies all applicable local, state, and federal statutes and regulations. Number 9, the rezoning is further supported by those reasons set forth by the members of the Township Board staff and applicant as reflected in the entire meeting record in this matter.
Is there a support?
Second.
Was that Bob?
It was
Jack,
me.
okay. And the clerk will call the roll?
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow.
Yes.
Mr. McKellar, yes. Mr. Pfaff
Yes.
and Mr. Remenga.
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Clerk, this will be the motion that we'll use for the minutes as well then. We can disregard that prior motion. I believe we only need the second one?
So
Elizabeth? Need both?
we do
Never
need
mind.
both, yeah, so that was good, yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. Disregard my comments then.
Sure.
We're all set.
Sounds good.
It'll come out in the editing, yeah.
And moving on into the next item on the agenda is to consider a policy for electronic devices for board members. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this? Are there any board members who would like to comment on this? And a motion would be in order.
I move to approve the adoption of a policy governing board device management as presented.
Second.
And the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Hagedorn,
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow,
Yes.
Mr. McKellar, yes, Mr. Pfaff,
Yes.
Mr. Reminga,
Yes.
Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
And Cameron would probably like to lead us a little bit in the discussion about the strategic goal workshop.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. I'm going to tie two things together from the last meeting. I told you we're going to talk about strategic plan. I also said I'd bring back to you an opportunity to add more meetings to your calendar. So 2 for 1 right here. When we set the calendar, I had thought in my head we're going to need other dates outside of those dates that we had set to work on a strategic plan. When we've done this in the past, it works better to have a workshop where you can have free flow of ideas, not sit up here behind microphones and feel very, physically kind of pinned in and sometimes mentally too. It's hard to get those good thoughts out there. So we'll hold workshops that are outside of our normal board routine here, more of a workshop style. We'll set those for when we can get everyone to participate. And so I'm anticipating, based on that, probably late spring, early summer. And that's typically the schedule that we followed in the past as well. We've let, especially our newer members of the board, get their feet underneath them a little bit before we start asking them, okay, what are we gonna do for the next 4 years? So, and really we set that up too in terms of the structure. We look at a 4-year strategic plan that we revisit every 4 years, but we also give you a little cushion by saying this is the plan that runs through this year. We're looking for the plan that starts a year from now. So it gives you a little time to put your thoughts together. But really the process is where do you want to go? What do you want to see this community be, and how do you want it to react? How do you want this organization to serve the community? That's really the intent here. From my standpoint, it is helpful to have something on paper that's adopted by the elected board to say, this is where we're going. And so then for myself and the rest of the staff, we can look at this and say, look, you've said, these are the goals that you've set for us. These are objectives you want us to achieve. This is how we're bringing to you ideas of how to make that happen. Short of this, we're guessing, and guessing doesn't lead to a good product. We don't want to guess what you want us to do. We want directive on what you want us to do. And that's really the intent of the strategic plan here. The other part of it too is the community gets to see what the intent is. This is your communication to the community. These are the things that while there's a number of things that are important, we've set these as the priority for this community. And so as we look at our current strategic plan, we started with 4 really broad goals and then gave some structure under each goal, and 4 things really to support this community: economic development, infrastructure, public safety, and building community or communications and outreach. That was the 4 goalposts of the plan with multiple items underneath. And as we look, we have a document that if anyone wants a copy of this, I can get you a fresh copy, and especially for our newer members, I'll get you a copy of this as well. We set specific objectives underneath our goals to say, these are the things that we're gonna do to meet these goals. And so that would be my intent again, is first of all, what are the high level items that you wanna achieve for the community? And then let's put some flesh on that structure and talk about, okay, and now that we know where we wanna go, how do we wanna get there? We're taking a road trip together. Let's pick the destination, and then let's pick the route. And that's basically the approach here. So that's the process we're going to work through together. So, a couple things, we can do it a couple of different ways. We've done it a few different ways over time. We've done it with the board basically sitting down and coming up with ideas, or board and staff. If you have an interest in doing some community outreach and having some surveys or community input from that form, we can do that. So it's an opportunity for you to help me understand how you want to go through this process as well. You don't have to tell me tonight. You can think about it, get back to me over the course of the next month or so, and let me know what your preference would be. But through the course of that too, I'll be reaching out about dates and availability, make sure that we're trying to pick dates when, at least when your planned time out of town is not conflicting. So we'll work through that. I'm not looking for you to pull out your calendars tonight and set dates. So we'll do that outside of a public meeting, but we'll get some dates set, and they will be public meetings. If anyone's interested in sitting in and watching the process, they are welcome to do so. So that's kind of the overview here that I want to talk through tonight, but then also open it up for any questions or comments that you may have.
Comments for Cameron? Anyone? Jack?
No, actually.
Bob, do you have anything, questions for?
Not at this time.
Steve?
Well, I do.
Always.
If I remember correctly, and I was in the staff position at that time, we started this like in 2016, correct? Now, are these, the goals that we have in front of us are kind of the goals we set way back then, right? And we just kind of build on them, or we can?
Yeah, they've shifted over time, but you're right. A lot of these goals are same as the past two or even past three boards have looked at this, and you know, some of them are kind of no-brainers, right? I mean, what are the core elements of Plainfield Township as an organization? How can we support Plainfield Township as a community? And infrastructure and public safety are two items that really come top to mind for a lot of people. And some of the others kind of build to support that. So yeah, these are some of the things that have constantly popped up, you know, making sure that we've got good water, sewer, and roads, making sure that we've got an excellent fire department, good support from Kent County Sheriff's Department for our law enforcement. Those are key items that have come up time after time again, and really form the main structure of that strategic plan. But then there's always the other things too. What other things are there out there? Is it, we've talked about parks and, you know, other elements of community engagement in that way, and, you know, what are the goals of the board?
Anybody else have comments? Kathy?
No,
Frank?
look forward to it.
I just want to get a copy, if you could email me.
I'll send a fresh copy out to all the board to make sure everyone's got that.
Okay.
So this is not necessarily an action item tonight. This was more of a discussion, and just to make sure that I'm headed in the right direction as we work through this. So if something comes up to you afterward, just, you know, give me a call and we can talk through it.
Moving on to the board members' comments. Mr. Hagedorn? Oops, anyone else? Anything else?
Skip your superintendent's.
Oh, I apologize. Superintendent's comments?
Couple items for you. Just jotting a note here. So first of all, in front of each of you, you have a fresh, new Kent County Road Commission map. If anyone wants one, there's a stack out in the back there. For any board member that missed the meeting, sorry, you gotta be present to win. So, but yeah, the Kent County Road Commission just put out their first new paper map since, I think, 2017 was their last edition. So any changes to their road network would be on here. But if you still love the paper copy, they got some paper copies for us. So you're welcome to that. Also today, we had a discussion at the Kent County Supervisors meeting with Kent County Emergency Management about the warning sirens. And that's an issue that we've been working through as a township. We have equipment that is showing its age. Currently, roughly half of our sirens are not functioning. And so that was a question that we had. The investment Plainfield Township would have to make into making them all functional again was well into the six figures. We're probably talking, we really probably are looking at a $250,000 investment to get the whole system up to current levels. Before we even talk about doing that, we want to make sure that this is a system, we're investing in a system that has some longevity. We don't want to invest $250,000 into a system that may be out of date in a couple of years. So we've kind of posed that question to Kent County. And so the sheriff joined us for lunch today and talked through their intent. And at this time, Kent County appears very interested in investing in their side of the system. And so the way the warning sirens work, basically there's a button or a way to sound the alarm through Kent County's emergency management operations. But when they hit that button, it's countywide. Every siren in the county is going off. So if there's something a tornado happening in Bound Township, those up in Cedar Springs are getting a signal. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense maybe 40 years ago. That was the best technology available. But today, everyone's carrying around things with much more accurate, locational data that will give them the storm information right where they are. And so we've looked into that, and Kent County is also looking into that. With the latest updates to the siren system, if they move forward with their end of it, it would make the system, it would be an automatic signal from National Weather Service to the sirens. No middle step of National Weather Service sending a signal to someone at Kent County Operations to push a button to sound the sirens. So that cuts out a lot of time, and it might be 30 seconds to a couple of minutes of time gap in there, but as we experienced a year and a half ago with that tornado, that was a significant amount of time. There was not a lot of warning with that tornado. And so there's that expediency that is a real step up. The other piece too, this new system would be, so the National Weather Service, when they issue, say, a warning, a storm warning, tornado warning, they can draw a very specific boundary around that warning as opposed to the entire county. That would also apply here, where if the incident is happening in Alpine and Plainfield, like that tornado, only our sirens would be going off, not countywide, and vice versa. If something's happening in the far north or south regions of the county, our sirens wouldn't go off if it didn't affect us. So that's a huge matter too. And those are some things that will really help our residents. It was a couple years ago that I heard our sirens going off, and I flip on the weather and I see absolutely nothing near us. And so I call then Chief McKellar and say, what is going on? And he says, I don't know, it must be something down on the edge of the county. And sure enough, it was in Allegan County, barely touching into Kent County, and our storm sirens are going off. Not very helpful for our residents. It sets anxiety and alarm that may be unnecessary. So it's not a great system. So making some of these system upgrades, I think, will make our system more useful for our residents to warn them about. And weather is what we focus on because that's the most common use of these. Kent County Emergency Management emphasizes they're not tornado sirens, they're not storm sirens, they're emergency sirens, and it could be anything. Good example that is often used a couple years ago in Ohio when they had a train derailment and there's a toxic hazmat spill. That would be an incident where you would use warning sirens to let people know something's going on. Tune in, turn on your TV, radio, cell phone, whatever, figure out what's going on around you. So they emphasize their warning sirens, and they're really not designed to be heard, in every structure. They're really outdoor warning sirens. Most people probably do hear them inside their homes, but that's not really by design. That's more how much coverage you have in your area and how close you are to one of the sirens. So with this information from Kent County, I think it's time for us to take a fresh look at our approach in Plainfield Township on how we want to respond. If Kent County is willing to make this investment on their end, are we willing to reinvest into our system? And one thing that we talked about a couple years ago is we found value in being consistent across the county. One, it's generally more expensive to do something on your own versus sharing with all of your neighbors. But two, it doesn't really help our residents if we're trying to train them on a system that is completely separate from the rest of the county. That's not very helpful, especially when it's something like a storm siren. There's not a lot of time at the moment, for education on what sound you're hearing. Having consistency across the county, especially as we have, residents that move across the county too, to hear a different type of system is going to not be the most helpful for our residents. So ensuring that we have consistency will help our residents in these times of emergency as well. I don't have any specific proposal to bring for you tonight, just letting you know that there is movement in a positive direction on this, and we will hopefully be talking about it again soon.
So as far as this investment, we're talking about investing in the latest technology. We're not talking about trying to get this half broken down old system back up and running. We're talking about investing in the latest technology, correct?
Correct. It would hopefully incorporate some of our sirens that still work. But to my knowledge, we have 11 sirens and 5 or 6 are currently functional. So we'd be making a significant investment into our system again if we choose to go this route. It doesn't have to be all at one time. It doesn't have to be immediate. But if this is the path that we decide to go, we can put out a plan and through our capital improvement plan say, okay, we want to reinvest in sirens and we want to do it over this time frame and in this speed. So we can look at that over time.
So as far as you're going to bring us, I want information to know what's the best choice to make. I'm not sure at this point.
Correct. I don't have all the information to provide
We're
for
going to
you.
be spending money. I want to make sure that we're spending the township's money wisely. And I don't know if that means bringing up the old system back up to working order, the whole thing, or if that means investing in new technology. So we'll be getting
Correct.
that information.
Yeah, and that's
So
where,
make an informed decision, I'm saying.
exactly, and that's where even our staff, our fire department is not gonna know all that without the help of the technology vendors that will evaluate, and some of our equipment's dating back, I don't wanna age anyone,
Yeah,
Mr.
don't be
McKellar, but,
looking.
just how old are some of those storm sirens, right? They're going back decades, right?
Oh, no, not that far.
So we'll be getting the,
Yeah, and I anticipate it'll be a number of months for our fire department to really put this evaluation together. Probably the first time we'll really start digging into details and have something to present to you will be closer to looking at our capital improvement budgets for next year and beyond. That's when we'll have solid data for you and say, this is the kind of investment we're looking at, and this is the kind of technology needs that we have here.
one of our 4 goals is infrastructure. I just want to make sure that, it's a limited budget.
Yep.
Any other comments?
I have a question. In 2015, my unit was involved in Operation, I think we call it Operation Northern Strike, where we had a simulated nuclear suitcase go off on the corner of Leonard and Monroe, and it was week-long, and my unit was assigned to Muskegon of all places. But the idea came up about the sirens. So you have to have some kind of warning in place to warn people in case of something like that. Hopefully, God hopes it never happens. But we also discussed with the Muskegon Sheriff's Department, they said, a lot of these go back before World War II. And then they got real ambitious after 56 tornado and then after the 65 Palm Sunday. So I'm all for it, but like Frank says, if there's a way we can take a few of those tubes and replace them. But again, the other question I have is what about federal funds? Because this originally, during World War II, was basically a War Department operation to put air raid sirens like on the top of Wurzburgs and this type of things. And there's a lot of factories that still have the old ones up there. But is there a way to solicit for federal funds to do this since it originally started as I don't know the answer because it's before my time.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. And it was one that was brought up at our meeting today as well. Is Kent County going to pay for all of ours? Likely not. But are there state and federal funds? That's something we'll have to explore. And there are grant programs from time to time. And so our fire department does a great job of keeping their eyes open for those opportunities when they come through too. And that's where this isn't the most urgent matter in terms of getting them all done. We'll put it into a capital plan and look for grant opportunities as well as we come along. Thank you for that.
One thing that that I believe will be valuable is that we always hear from a whole bunch of people, particularly in one geographic area, that they never hear a siren. So I think we're both aware of where that is, and it would be time to look at the system and whether or not it meets the needs.
Well, there's more than one area because we have more than one failed siren at this time. So there's enough overlap that some people may be hearing one that was intended for a different area. But yeah, we have a lot of gaps in our system right now.
Okay. Any more comments, Kathy? Anybody else here? Okay,
And then
Cameron,
on storm sirens?
I have one.
we're gonna let him finish.
Oh, okay.
I had one more comment. So it was on consent agenda earlier. I just want to point out, we have our new finance director. Adam's in the back with us, sitting next to Jen. So if you didn't get a chance to meet him before the meeting, he's joined us tonight, and he can stick around for a couple of minutes afterward and say hello and make some introductions. So congratulations and welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and meeting us, too. That's wonderful. Board members' comments. Bob?
Not at this point.
Steve?
Yeah, you'll see, I handed out some educational opportunities. One is a Capital Conference and the other is the MTA Conference. If you're interested in going to these, fill out the application forms and get them back to the clerk's office, and she'll handle getting the check cut, basically, for these educational opportunities for you.
Thank you.
Yep, that's it.
Jack?
As you can also note on the consent agenda, Nancy Wood is going to be the board representative to RACF, Rockford Area Community Foundation. I was that board representative. I've been that representative for the last 7 years. I'm tired. Normally I'm tired, but I'm also tired with that. Burned out, and I'm happy that she's joining it. They are also seeking at-large members. So if any of you in the audience or any of you in the audience know of someone who lives in the Rockford Area School District or and would like to be an at-large member of the board, let me know, let Nancy know, or you can go on the website, do a search on Rockford Area Community Foundation, and there will also be a notice in the Rockford Squire, I believe, in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Thank you. Kathy?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Frank? Wonderful. I wanted to just mention to board members that there have been a couple deaths in our, in Plainfield Township's board members or employees, and our little pot of money that we all put together has $17 left. So if you all could, in the past, we've each thrown $20 in, and I'll be sending, the Brinkman family has asked for donations to the Cancer Society. Nope, I'm sorry. Brinkman asked for veterans and another one. The Martin family has asked for the Cancer Society. So we'll remember both of those if you can get some money to me. And also, I'll be sure to send a card to Ben Green, who used to be a trustee here at Plainfield Township, and he's now chair of the Kent County Board of Commissioners. Pardon me?
And for those of you who don't know, and I think I told Kathy, the 1st of February is Bill Brinkman's funeral, and it's at the Lutheran Church right across the street from the 5 Mile Library at 11 o'clock.
And there's a luncheon to follow also. There's also
Also
calling
January,
hours.
sorry, January 31st is the showing,
Yeah, the calling hours, and that's at Pedersen.
Pedersen's in Rockford.
And the funeral for Bill Martin is this week. I believe it's Thursday. 11 o'clock. Okay, is there any other information? Last call. Thank you for coming. Meeting is adjourned.